Hi everyone, day 8 of my 77-day video challenge, Heart and Soul with Evelyn. Now, some of you might know I'm actually a funeral celebrant, officiant, whatever you call it. I used to marry people as well, and in Australia, I've been living in Australia since 1997, so 27 years I've been living in this country. So in Australia, about 80% of weddings are actually done by civil celebrants. In America, it's different. There's a lot of churches there, so a lot of clergy do weddings, or friends do weddings as well, and priests as well do weddings. But here in Australia, there is a trend where 80% of people who get married are married by civil celebrants. Now, that trend has also become more noticeable in the last few years, celebrants doing funerals as well. Now, in Australia, you don't have to be qualified to be a funeral celebrant. You do have to be qualified by the Attorney General's office to be a marriage celebrant, but to be a funeral celebrant, you don't need to be qualified. So anyone can do a ceremony, and some family members try to do ceremonies as well. It probably is preferred to hire a professional who has done a little bit of training to do a ceremony, and also a funeral celebrant is able sort of just to keep a bit of distance from the family and not get emotionally attached, whereas in such a high stakes ceremony, emotions are really high. So if you're not really getting along with a family member and they're conducting the ceremony of your loved one, it might not go too well. And that can be what happens at a funeral. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about burials, which do happen in Australia, but they're not very common. So I've done, a lot of ceremonies over the years, probably more than 500 end-of-life ceremonies, and I would say I've only done maybe about 25 to 30 burials, so they're not very common for a secular sort of ceremony. However, some religions, they do require to be buried within 24 hours, and of course people of the Islam faith and people of the who are Jewish, they also do require within 24 hours to get buried if they can. Also within those two faiths is they do need to prepare the body and wrap it up in a shroud before it's buried 24 hours later. They do have different rituals, which I will go to in other shows, not this one today, but I just thought that was sort of interesting that burials, only about in Australia, 75% were cremations and 25% were burials. So it's not very common. There is a higher expense involved, whereas cremation is a little bit cheaper. Now, my father was buried in Killeen, Texas, at a memorial park there. He was former military, so he had full military sort of honors when he was buried back in 1997. And so what are the benefits of burials versus cremation? Now, for me, I kind of like having a plot of grass or a plot to go to and know that my dad is there, so that you can be quite sentimental about that, but other people aren't. Now, I live here in Australia. I've got siblings and family members who live in America, who even live in Texas, but haven't really visited my dad in the cemetery. I've visited him 3 times. Every time I go to the States, I try to make it to Texas to visit him in the cemetery. So it all depends on you, if you feel that way inclined. For me, I just like being there, but if we could do it all over again, I would prefer if my dad was cremated and we were able to sort of spread his ashes different areas of the world that were important to him. And I'd also keep a little bit of ashes and just put them in some like cremation jewelry that you can buy and have them around my neck. But that is me. That is what I like. And then also a lot of people now are tending to have a cremation, no sort of ceremony, but then have an ashes interment ceremony like a month or two down the track. So they spread the ashes in different areas of the world where the loved one had really fond memories. And then they have a maybe, cemetery that's nearby to the family. They'll have some ashes interred into the ground at a cemetery and the little plaque there. And it's just a little sort of area. You just know that part of their essence is there. So if I could do it all over with my father, I wasn't in the funeral space back in 97. So we just thought burial was the way to go. And my dad was Catholic. But I do miss him. And I love that sense of going to the cemetery to visit him there. But others really, it's not that important to them. But for me, it is. But if I could do it over again, just think about it. Cremation, having the ashes there, maybe save a little bit for the family if they want to hold on to that for some memories. Scatter in different areas that were important to the loved one. And then maybe have some ashes interred or buried at a memorial place or a cemetery, just so you're able to go back and visit. So those are just my thoughts. And yes, I look forward to your company tomorrow, and we will talk about something probably less serious. But have a great day, and I look forward to your company tomorrow.